So today I'm going to run you through 10 things that you need to know or you should be implementing if you're an aspiring fighter or someone coming through. And even hobbyists, some of these things will also apply to you. So let's get into it. So number one is good coaching, right? A lot of us don't know what good coaching looks like because we only know a certain example of where we're at now. So picking a good gym when you're going into to learn or you're going into fight or whatever else is super important, and making sure that the coach is explaining everything to you. I think like this is a big thing. When I was coming up, I had good coaches and they always explained what they were doing to me and why they were doing it and how to do it. The teaching element was always there. You get some guys who are fantastic fighters, but they can't explain everything correctly. I feel like it's maybe because they haven't, the way you teach is the way you learn. So the way I teach now, I still use some things that Tony explained to me on how to loosen up on a kick or how to implement pushing your hips in correctly when you're punching, and why, good connection to the floor when you're throwing shots. Weight management, how to move your body back and forth to create good power in your strikes, things like this. So picking a good gym, normally there are cues. If they're a lot of good fighters from a certain gym, normally the coach is going to be a good level, right? You can look and see examples from the fighters. If they're good fighters, they clearly have had good coaching. Number two is hiring a nutritionist. Now, this will only apply to you if you're a fighter or cutting a lot of weight. But for me, I've cut a lot of weight over the years, and this is something that I've learned, that I can't really do the heavy weight cuts every single month, every 2 months. And hiring a good nutritionist is probably one of the most important things when you're doing them big weight cuts. Getting someone who is specialized in a certain area so they can help you get to that goal of weight. And as well, it sort of takes away the pressure of not knowing what you're doing and the worry of, oh my God, am I going to make weight? The water loading as well is another thing that you need to be aware of. How much water you can probably cut, how much you need to cut, how you need to water load correctly for the amount of body weight that you're dropping, and things like this. I worked with Origin Project, Sean Aspinall, in my last fight in Mexico. I didn't do too much. I did a sauna for about an hour and a half, 10 in, 5 off. And yeah, he was fantastic though. And he was constantly in contact and sending me videos of things and why I'm doing this and why not to do this and what we're trying to do here, which was another element. So having someone who's really hands-on with what they're doing with your nutrition will just take away that pressure of the making weight. Building your career the right way. For me, the way I would explain it is, everyone in the UK I tried to fight. So no matter if they were ranked number 8, number 5, number 10, if they were not in the rankings at all, I would still, look at the fights and trust my coaches. Again, this comes down to good coaching as well. If my coaches used to say to me, I would never put you in a fight that you couldn't win. There are some coaches that put you in right at the deep end where you're way out of your depths and it's going to be hard to win them fights. And you do want to win, but you also want to have some sort of challenge when you're fighting, right? So getting a good coach to build your career the right way and build you as a fighter is super important. And it's important for when you go into coaching also, that you have a good reputation and you have a good name from the career that you've built, and structuring that correctly where you can make a plan to, okay, I want to go here. How do I get there? There's the next step. There's the next step. Okay, so number 4, this is a super important one. Understanding quality over quantity. I learned this very, very late in my career. Understanding when you need to push on sessions, when you need to pull back and have elements of learning, which should be, 70-30, I would say 70% learning, 30% just going all out is probably a good ratio that you could implement when you're not fighting. Because the times when you're not fighting is the times where you actually are going to get better. Your technique's going to get better. Your timing's going to get better. Trying to get good in areas that you're not so good. So you've got that time element where you can just work on them for a continued amount of time and actually get better in that area. And pulling back your training when you're overtraining. This is something that, Later down the line, like I said, I learned later down the line, but even in Mexico now, I tried to train twice a day and it just wasn't working for me. My body was getting heavily fatigued. So I pulled back my training to training once a day, 6 times a week. And I feel a lot better in the gym doing that. And obviously the S&C, good S&C complement in that is also something for, you know, your longevity purposes, for you to not get injured, things like that. And not just killing yourself in the gym all the time. Having them good quality sessions where you feel like you're actually learning is a really important factor. Goal setting. So everyone has like a plan of where they want to be in 5 years, but you also need to understand what is the next step. So you need to see what's in front of you, what is attainable in like a month's time, in 2 months' time, not necessarily what's 5 years ahead that looks so far out of reach that you can't even see getting there. Whereas you can see the next step in front of you. So whether that's having a better kick, whether that's understanding your S&C a little bit better in the next couple of months, maybe that's wanting to fight on a certain promotion that is coming up. Like understanding a good level of goal setting, so you can just look at that little mark in front of you and not be so, sometimes it can be disheartening looking, like I said, X amount of years away and you're nowhere near it yet. So number 6 is another important one, which is saving your head for fight camps. I feel like I learned this very late. I used to have absolute wars inside the gym with my teammates like Sam Torah, who we just used to beat each other up in the gym. It's sort of like it's competitive all the time, and maybe that's not good for your head. If you're an enthusiast, you don't need to be doing hard sparring. You really, really don't. Save your head. It's important. If you're a fighter, only do your hard sparring in fight camps when you've got a fight coming up, when you need to prepare for that sort of what's going to happen, right? Even now, I don't spar unless I'm in a fight camp. I don't want to spar. It doesn't make me necessarily feel good, especially hard sparring. Play sparring, that's why the Thais have so much longevity in their careers, because they just play all the time, you know. It's sort of like a game to them. It's not like rough and trying to knock 10 shades of shit out of each other. So save your head for the fight camps and just play spar if you're an enthusiast. Okay, number 7 is going to be stay active when you're young. Especially if you're fighting in shin pads and the other things, number 1, you heal a lot faster. So if you get bumped, it won't, or any niggles, they'll go quite fast. So again, taking them opportunities when you're not getting beat up and your body's not getting smashed, but you're still getting them rounds and experience of being in the ring, being in front of a crowd. This is really something that I did when I was younger, which I felt gave me a good base of when I went pro. Even though it was quite fast, being active, going to these shows, just fighting whoever you can. Remember, this is like really good experience from when you get in there and you're doing the full thing. You're already so used to being in the ring, being in front of a crowd, being in a fight. And you'll never go in there and just be completely relaxed and calm. A lot of my fights, you should have seen when I was younger, I was swinging for the hills, head down like this. So again, you need to learn how to be calm and relaxed. And I feel like being young and being active, you're not just building your experience, but you're also getting used to being in there and being calm and relaxed, throwing your techniques correctly and things like this. Number 8 is gonna be constantly having structure and aims for your training sessions. So having a structure and aim, meaning if you're going into a training session, what are you working on? If you're going into a sparring session, what are you working on in this session? Is it how to kick the body more when someone's punching? Is it defending everything? A lot of the times when I coach sparring sessions, I will always give sort of an aim of what someone's trying to work on. Even in fight camps or whatever else, or what is it to get better today? Is it to push on the pads today? Is it to, there are so many different elements that you can implement into your training as to what you need to do to get better. And having an aim and going in there, you know exactly what you're going in there for. So number 8 is sort of the glue to your whole career, which is having a good team, which means no bad apples. There was someone who told me once, if there's one bad apple, it will rot the whole group. And it's true. Your team and your sparring partners, your teammates, this is a very emotional journey as well. You go through massive highs, massive lows. You go through hard training camps with each other. You become like family in a way. And understanding who to attach yourself to. If the people around you have all got the same goal, right, you're all going to sort of push each other and level up each other. You can't just become a great fighter with just good coaching, a good coach. You need them teammates. They are the glue to everything. I'm thankful and lucky enough that I've always had good teammates to spar with, to train with, to give me advice. And you're all going to sort of develop a different style, and you're all going to become good in certain areas. And they can also help you get better in the areas that you're not as good in. So number 9 is going to be stay out of the clubs and partying. I learned this the hard way. I feel like my career could have been a lot better if I'd have stayed out of the bars and stayed away from all the haram things in the world. But it also made me who I am as a person with both the fighting and the other stuff I was doing outside the gym, which wasn't as good. But just staying in the gym, staying away from all the bad stuff that can negatively impact your lifestyle and your training regime, and getting this on lock early will give you a way better career. I think that my career would have been twice as better if I would have just stayed out of the bars, not gone out, not had, again, you're going to have to, it doesn't mean pull back socially, but understanding, can this impact what I'm trying to do in my career? Because a lot of the times we do see it with a lot of fighters, they go out too much, or they do all the other stuff that isn't very good. And it does negatively impact your career heavily, especially when you get older. You don't sort of see it when you're young, but it is sort of like a domino effect, and it does come into play later on in your career. The last one I wanted to mention, which is staying good with people. Building connections, networking with promoters, other gyms, fighters. This is sort of like a thing where I've moved around a lot and I've met a lot of people and I've been around a lot of gyms, but the one thing I always do is I stay good with the gyms. We see some people who fall out with people, they sort of tarnish their name in a way. Promoters don't want to work with them. Remember, you always want to be brought up in a conversation. So if there is a conversation of, this fight's fell out, it's a great opportunity, and the promoters are looking and then they're going, well, maybe we should pick this guy because I know him, he's always been good with us, he's fought on our promotions before, he's not a hassle. Remember, you're not there to be treated like a queen when you fight. And promoters like this, if you can sell tickets as well, great. Another element in the UK where it's like you need to sell tickets to get good fights, which I don't necessarily agree with. But again, it's a show and it needs to make money. And that's how the promoters think. But also having good relationships with everyone. This is a really important thing that I think you should implement early on. And having good relationships with your coaches, your teammates, no matter if you, like me, you move away or you go to a different part of the world. I'm always in connection with the people that I started with, and my coaches and everything else. And I ask their opinion, and I ask them for advice even to this day, which I think is really important. So I hope that helps you in some regard. And yeah, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment, and let me know what you think.